This is a 2024 Genesis GV80 all-wheel drive 3.5 turbo Prestige Signature, an uber luxurious version of the Korean luxury brand's larger SUV, which first arrived in the US for the 2022 model year, 1 year after the more mainstream GV80s. Think of the Prestige Signature as the Genesis answer to the Mercedes Maybach versions of things like the GLS. What do I mean by that? Well, despite being the size of a Mercedes GLE, this only seats 4, but offers really high levels of space and comfort for each of the 4 occupants. And I'll pour into more of those details in just a moment. And this is the last year of the Genesis GV80 as we know it right now. For 2025, Genesis is going to do a big update of the GV80, as well as introduce an all-new version, the GV80 Coupe. And I'm excited to share as soon as I learn more about that. But for now, I'm very curious to see how this 2024 Genesis plays in this more luxurious, well-manicured, more polished luxury space. Let's find out. I review all kinds of cars, and I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for a standard Genesis GV80 is $59,050. If you want to get power from the larger twin turbocharged 3.5-liter V6, base price increases to $66,200. But this top-of-the-line Prestige Signature test car costs $83,100. With that, now is a good time to pull over and show you around and inside this car in a bit more detail, show you a bit of that luxury I'm talking about. Looking at the front of the car, you can definitely tell that the GV80 follows the Genesis design signature pretty closely, and I certainly don't think that's a bad thing. I do like the split beam design that Genesis used, this kind of bifurcated setup where you've got different main beams, both top and bottom, and then some daytime running lights kind of in the center there, right between this bodywork split. I think it looks nice. I think the hood looks nice, and I think the front end looks nice generally. But given all that, I'm personally still more interested to see what's underneath it. And there is your twin turbocharged 3.5-liter V6, longitudinally mounted or 4-aft like that. And it's cool to see some bracing here. This runs from the front of the strut tower to the front of the structure right here, and it's on both sides. Adds a little bit more strength and stiffness to the structure. And we've got good core placement here. The center of the front axle is right around here. So much of the engine is actually behind the front axle center line, putting more of the weight in the middle of the car. And windshield wiper fluid is actually way back in the corner here, but easy enough to fill up. Looking at the GV80 in profile, you get a better sense of how long this is. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen so you can check that out, and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. Also, check this out. The key fob has a lot of buttons on it, including remote start and remote smart parking assist. Oh yeah. Base wheels on a Genesis GV80 are 19s, but the Prestige Signature rolls on these really nice looking 22-inch wheels. Also, I didn't mention it when we were looking at the front of the car, but we do have air curtains right here to channel air over the front wheel well and help prevent a high pressure zone. That's nice to see. And yes, the wheels in back are the same size as the wheels in front. This is a square setup. Looking at the rear of the car, I did mention the bifurcated tail lights already, but you can see them there. Again, I think this is a nice execution of the design. And I think generally, as modern SUVs go, Genesis did a good job. There is one party foul, in my personal opinion, and that's these pentagon-shaped dual exhaust tips right here. These guys are not real at all, but it is a relatively minor infraction. It is dual exhaust tips, and they are right behind the pentagon shape, right inside there. And if you open the tailgate, there happens to be generous space inside. Open the hatch and you get 35 cubic feet of cargo area. If you need more than 35 cubic feet of storage and only need to carry yourself and a passenger, that is very easy to do. 2 buttons right here. And the second row captain's chairs fold down to give you 84 cubic feet of cargo space and room for 2. And these same buttons put the seats back as well. Lovely. Obvious first thing to do once you see the second row is to start the car, because there's a lot to show you back there. So push button starts right here. And first thing I want to do actually is open the door and then not quite close it to show you that we have soft closed doors. And of course that's for the front doors as well. The color of the interior is beige, and it's lovely. And I like these different earth tones that Genesis used. Also, we have this nice wood finish as part of the trim as well. This is why I wanted to turn the car on. We have 3-zone climate control and full control second row seats. Look at that, fore, aft, seat back, all that. And this button right here called relax, press it, and the seat automatically goes into this nice reclined position. Pretty sweet. One press again. This second row is where the prestige luxury really comes to its own. First of all, I have rear sunshades, but they're not manual. Check this out. And check it out up here. I even have a little vanity mirror. 3-zone climate control, as I showed you already, but I also have heated and ventilated seats back here as well. I also have 2 USB ports and an AC outlet as well. I also have this nice center console here with cup holders, a nice little spot for cargo, and a wireless smartphone charger back here. And if you're on the passenger side, you have this adjustment here, so you can give yourself even more legroom if you want. The Prestige Signature only seats 4, but as I hit the relax button, as you can tell, it seats 4 very comfortably. Just like the back doors, we have this nice wood trim here and these different earth tones here, more of the beige color here, usual controls on the door, 2-position driver seat memory, and a couple of speakers as well. The seats themselves have nice bolsters, upper and lower, and you're looking at a Napa leather surface. Lots and lots of controls for the front seat, including massage. Oh yeah. This steering wheel itself has a nice thick rim and plenty of adjustments on it. Different media controls to the left, cruise control options to the right, and we do have paddle shifters just behind that, upshift on the right, downshift on the left. You're looking at a fully digital 12.3-inch instrument cluster, and we do have a head-up display above that, and next to that, a widescreen 14.5-inch center console touchscreen. Beneath that, here are the first 2 zones of your 3-zone climate control, and of course, the front seats also get ventilated and heated seats, and you get a 2-level heated steering wheel as well. You also get a wireless smartphone charger and a couple of USB ports, but you don't get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You get it, but it's wired. Hence my fun little cable right here. You do have a power button and volume knob right here, as well as a few controls that are attached to your command center for the center console touchscreen up here. This is our drive mode dial and different drive mode features. Looking up, we do get a glasses holder right there, as well as controls for the panoramic moonroof, including electric privacy panels. Lovely. And this headliner right here is suede. You have differential lock and downhill brake control, and you also have several drive modes. They are Snow, Eco, Comfort, Sport, and Custom. And to change Custom, you do that in the center console touchscreen. Go to Setup, Vehicle, Drive Mode, Custom, and you see that you can change the powertrain, the steering, and the suspension, and the all-wheel drive. So you have good control here. We will spend most of our time in the Comfort Drive mode, but we will take a moment to spend in Sport. And to be honest, I'm pretty excited to do that. Speaking of which, no time like the present. let's get back to the drive. And if you're interested in getting a more detailed look at this Prestige Signature Genesis GV80, I did do a separate video that goes into more detail. The link should be showing up in the corner right there, and I have a link in the description. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. Where does 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque come from? Well, like you saw, there is a twin turbocharged V6 under the hood, and it has a larger bore and shorter stroke. That makes it a little bit easier to rev, but a little bit harder to make big torque numbers. Speaking of, peak power comes at a reasonably high 5,800 RPM, and peak torque does come nice and low, starting at 1,300 RPM and maintaining all the way through 4,500 RPM, which is a 3,200 RPM spread. That's nice. Also, this engine runs on a pretty darn high, especially for a turbo engine, 11:1 compression ratio. But it does ask for premium fuel to output the numbers I just said. The base 2.5 liter engine is a 4-cylinder engine. It is also turbocharged, and it actually makes a pretty darn healthy 300 horsepower, considering it's 1 liter smaller, and even better almost, 311 pound-feet of torque. Regardless of which engine you choose, you do get an 8-speed automatic transmission, and every GV80 is all-wheel drive. This engine is basically a carbon copy of the Genesis GV70's twin turbocharged 3.5 liter V6, but it doesn't feel quite the same. Now, the GV80 is a little bit bigger. It weighs a few hundred pounds more, and its frontal area is a little bit larger at least, so it's going to have a different drag area, if not a different coefficient of drag. So it could be those technical differences that makes up for the different feel, but I also think that it is tuned a little bit differently in the GV80. It just outputs a little bit smoother in this, shifts a little bit more smoothly. Now, I'm not trying to say it's slow. Currently in the comfort driving mode, if I floor it, after a couple moments for a kickdown, I get good pull. It's just that the power comes on just that tiniest touch more smoothly than I felt in the GV70. And if I change it to the sport driving mode and floor it again, yeah, the feel is actually quite similar. It is quite quick. It's not quite as fast as the GV70. You can feel that it is carrying a little bit more weight. It is about 500 pounds more, but it is still very potent in this GV80, and it just applies the power really well. So you don't get any jerks of any kind. Just kind of presses you against the back of the seat, and you get moving, and you get moving quickly. Now, of course, I also have the paddle shifter, so I can just downshift as I wish right now and floor it again, and I don't have to wait for the kickdown to get good pull. But feel this shift. That's smooth. It's quick, but it's smooth. Even in the sport driving mode, the shifts just transition just a little bit better than you would in the GV70. It's not a big difference, it's subtle, but it is there. Considering all the performance of this engine and the pretty heavy weight that it has to carry around, it's probably not a huge surprise that fuel economy is only so-so. Not to mention those 22-inch wheels, by the way. You get 18 miles to the gallon in the city, 23 miles to the gallon on the highway, 20 combined. Those are really, you can't say much better than so-so numbers. Now, if you get the turbo 2.5 liter in the GV80, that does improve slightly. I'll go ahead and put those numbers up on the screen for you to check out, but it's still only meh. On the bright side, this GV80 can also tow, and it can tow a little bit more than I expected. If you have a trailer with trailer brakes, Genesis says this will tow 6,000 pounds. So you're well into class 3 territory. That gets you into a pretty decent sized boat, a decent camper trailer, and a few options with utility trailers as well. Really, not bad. But while towing may be important to a few, and really fuel economy is important to everybody, neither of which is nearly as much fun as accelerating. Of course I had to test it. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test. See what this Genesis GV80 can do with its twin turbocharged 3.5 liter V6, 375 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque. Let's give it a shot. Okay, coming to a complete stop, and I will say that I do have it in sport driving mode, and I do have traction control off. Okay, give it some brake torque. About 2,400 RPM off the brake. Oh, not bad. Nice smooth revs. Oh, good quick shifts. Nice. Nice acceleration. Wow. Oh, we've got some real muscle here. Wow. Good, strong, stout, and very smooth acceleration from this 2024 Genesis GV80. Yeah, this 3.5 liter turbo is nice in both the GV70 and now I can say in this GV80 as well. Strong acceleration. All right, let's talk chassis. As I mentioned when we looked at drive modes, we do have adjustable shock absorbers in the Genesis GV80, and they are tuned really, really well. In the comfort drive mode, this is a very comfortable SUV. It floats over bumps and heaves in the road just fine, and you combine that with this nice interior, the nice materials in the seats, and of course things like seat massage. There is plenty of comfort in this SUV. And that's true on roads like this or on the interstate. I did test it there as well. Let me show you that. All right, everybody, time for a quick stint on the interstate. And since I have the on-ramp to myself, a quick handling test. Yeah, not bad. There's a bit of body motion, but it's not bad. And the tire grip is actually pretty good. Okay, now we are on the interstate, and I've set the cruise control to 78 miles an hour to go with traffic. At that speed, the engine is spinning at like 1,800 RPM and is very much in the background, nice and quiet. That is appreciated. And we do have a nice long list of driving aids. I'll go ahead and put those on the screen right now for you to check out. And that does include highway driving assist too, which includes lane keeping assist and lane change assist. And since we're going through a subtle curve, I'll take my hands off the wheel. And yeah, the car is tracking and staying in the center pretty darn well. Yeah, nice. And now that we've gotten out of that curve, I'll go ahead and turn on my turn signal. I'm just keeping my hands near the wheel, but not on it. Yep, lane change done. So there you go. Highway driving assist too. More and more driving aids if that's the kind of thing you are into. Speaking of lane changes, the Genesis GV80 does have a neat trick. Whenever you turn on the turn signal, a screen pops up in the digital instrument cluster to replace the tach or the speedometer to show you what would be in your blind spot otherwise. So let me quickly show you. Left turn signal. Right turn signal. Pretty clever. More fundamentally, we do have a fantastic ride in this Genesis GV80. It is nice and soft without being floaty, which I appreciate. It's on the verge of it though. It is a very soft and supple ride, and it handles bumps and undulations and heaves in the road with no trouble at all. And I'm quite happy with the comfort level. And the seats that I'm in do not hurt that as well. These are very comfortable seats, and the interior is really nicely laid out. I have tons of luxuries in here. Heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, seat massage for crying out loud. Yeah, so plenty of goodies. The only thing that I was just a tiny bit underwhelmed with is there is a little bit more wind noise than I expected. Generally speaking, road noise is premium level quality for sure. And wind noise is also premium level, but considering how well this Genesis GV80 performed in every other category, I did expect just a little bit less wind noise. It's still quiet, it's just not quite as quiet as I expected. But overall, it is definitely a fantastic highway cruising machine. Okay, what do I think of this 2024 Genesis GV80 Prestige Signature? This is nice, and it's at a really nice price considering how nice it is. Genesis, just like Hyundai, still does play the value card in a lot of ways, and it's interesting to see them do that as it gets into a more and more premium space. When it comes to the materials and amenities and options that are put in this car, it compares quite favorably to things that are much, much more expensive. I'm not saying this matches Mercedes, and I'm certainly not trying to suggest that this matches a Mercedes Maybach, but you're definitely going in that direction, and you're going in that direction at a much more palatable price. This SUV looks great inside, has great materials and feels very comfortable inside, and includes a very well-behaved and still very powerful powertrain. The chassis is comfortable, the structure is quiet. This is a great premium SUV. And I think it's the perfect SUV for someone that wants a bit more space and doesn't want any of its passengers to compromise at any level. I'm Robin Warner, thank you for watching. And if you like this video, please show me by giving it a thumbs up. Doing so helps me out a lot and I'd really appreciate it. Plus, I do car reviews like this all the time, plus car news and walkarounds and track reviews and all kinds of things. So if you have any interest in keeping up with the auto industry at all, please subscribe to my channel. That also really helps me out a lot and I'd also really appreciate that. Speaking of, not that long ago, I did get a chance to review the Mercedes-Benz GLE 450e. That is roughly the same size as this, but a plug-in hybrid powertrain. And that thing takes smoothness to another level. Now, there are a lot of differences between that GLE and this, but like I said, same size and price isn't actually all that different either. I will have a link to that review in the description and hopefully it'll pop up right there. Or maybe you're interested in something else entirely. Well, like I said, I have reviewed a lot of stuff. Something will pop up on the screen next to me. Hopefully that is something you're interested in. And if you do end up watching it, I definitely hope you like it. Okay, goodbye for now.